What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holt's back again with another e-commerce conversations. I hope all is well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the Internet from me, Weston. What's up, man?
How is it going, Eric? I'm so grateful to be here. I love your energy because I'm often like one heartbeat away from death, as people say, because I'm so low key. So I think we're going to be like the perfect yin and yang on this dynamic.
Well, I don't know. I tend to get pretty mellow out, but that intro, if anyone needs like a jolt of caffeine or something, just listen to some of my intros and we'll keep that energy going.
I love it.
I'm excited. Today's Friday for, we uploaded on Friday. We're recording on Friday. Who the hell are you for all of our listeners who don't know?
Well, I appreciate anyone listening today. I'm Weston Jon Bouchér, and I'm a menswear designer out of San Diego, California. My background has been in many creative fields, but this is my full time now. I've been 6 years running with my menswear line, which is also my name. Everything else was taken, honestly, every cool idea, so we just went with that. But I also had transitioned from being I spent a lot of time in YouTube as well in the self-improvement world, and so I appreciate what you do, Eric, and you're always trying to elevate guys, to their greatest potential, and that's kind of what I do as well. Now on the style side, but hair, grooming, all that, so it all resonates. And before that, I was a professional model for probably a solid 10 years full time. And that's what led me to the YouTube channel, sharing things that I learned from the industry to help other guys elevate their style and all that stuff, grooming as well. And then the menswear line was like a byproduct of finding something that I could provide style solutions for guys that were looking for that are active, type guys who like luxury menswear that's at a reasonable price point.
All right, guys. So for those who just listen to the podcast, I recommend you head over to YouTube and watch this video. Weston is an incredibly handsome man. It's not very frequent that my guests will upstage, this just fine beauty and fine beard. But
you're too kind. At 45, I will take what I can get. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that kind of transition into manufacturing apparel, and what is that like? I know, just from being in the YouTube game, a lot of times, historically speaking, what seems to happen is a brand that has manufacturing capabilities will partner up with a content creator, and then that content creator kind of leverages that expertise. Is that the route you went, or did you just decide yourself, I'm gonna bareback this and go all in?
Yeah, I went with the latter, and I was in over my head right away, right out the gates. For anyone looking to start a clothing line, that's where I think even now I tell people, I go, if I were to go back, I probably would have went for simplification, like to get to the end goal of what I'm after. And I could have went the route of white labeling everything and doing blanks, of course. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I started the line because after wearing so many designer brands from these shoots I'd be on when I was modeling, the stylist would pull really great stuff. And I got this opportunity to feel all these fabrics and try different things. And I still came away from it being like, I feel like there's still not one type of brand where I can get all my staple silhouette styles that kind of they're evergreen styles that people wear each and every year, even decades, that are still in line with fashion and aren't too trend forward. So that was my motivator, but I couldn't really find a blank or a white label that was really going to hit all those target lifestyle brand items. And so that kind of pushed me into like, what if I launch with maybe like 5 styles initially? And, they're from piggybacking off of stuff I have in my line, or my wardrobe, I should say, and being like, I feel like this could have been done better, a little longer, better fabric, a little thinner, more lightweight, stuff like that. So that made me start the brand in terms of a cut and sew versus just going straight to blanks and white labeling. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
No, it does. I have a little expertise. I made 3 shirts early in our business, 2014. And we worked with a pattern designer. I forget what their technical name is, but we designed them, we produced them, we did a small run of them. and I totally missed the mark with our customers. I thought they were super cool, but apparel is hard. Like the margins are really tight. You're dealing with people who have different bodies, and everybody's got a different body. So it's like not only do you have to niche down on the style of the apparel, but you also have to niche down on the body type, especially for a small brand. Like you can't carry every single cut out there and fit every body type. I would assume you kind of base it on what your needs are and kind of build off of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was trying to solve a problem of my own. I wanted to have a one-stop shop for all these, like I said, staple styles. But I found that, fits were just not consistent with most brands. And it tended to be because they would embrace trends too much, I felt like. So we're in the oversized time frame right now as well. Slim fit isn't as popular, but it's kind of a demographic thing, right? Certain generations and then certain regions of the world also still embrace slim fit or more like European look. I always gravitated towards that because I always felt it's more timeless. I have nothing against the oversized. I just can't pull it off. I feel like it's not age appropriate for me. So I kind of, I wanted to find that solution to fit more than anything. And yeah, I do base it. I am the fit model when I go with my developer and we go through every sample and we're doing all the measurements and everything. And when you're a slim fit brand, especially, it just opens up the doors for so many returns because people are in between sizes oftentimes. And you just you can't help that without having someone, try something on. So I look forward to the future where AI really gets a super solid handle on some sort of way to mitigate that. But for right now, I'm listening to my customers constantly. I'm looking at return data all the time, and we're getting really close. But it is tough to kind of, that's one of the hardest things I think about apparel. And then to have a line is on top of that is hard if you're a lifestyle brand, because I have manufacturers all over the world in different regions. So finding a way to make sure that quality control and specs and tech packs and everything are almost identical when you're working with like a knit like this versus a t-shirt or a woven, it's crazy challenging. But I never stop. Like I'm continually dedicated to that because I'm so anal and I get annoyed when I wear something. It's just not, there's something just a little bit off. So I'm tweaking all the time and it's a nightmare. Like that's why I think, again, going back to the white labeling thing or simple, start a hat brand, right? Just do hats, or just do underwear, because when you open those floodgates and then you have multiple colorways, multiple fabrics, different factories, and you're trying to do a clothing line, it's just so much. But the train has left the station, so it is what it is now. It's going great, don't get me wrong, but it is like the bandwidth. I just don't, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah. What does your team look like? Is it just you? Do you work with contractors to design stuff, or have you, grown to build a team at all?
I think year 1 and 2, it was almost entirely me. And then I gradually, as budget was more available or I was able to secure a loan of some kind, then I started to slowly add to my team. Right now, I would say there's maybe about 11 various contractors, but everyone is fractional almost entirely, except for my warehouse and offices are based here in San Diego. So I'm there along with 2 to 3 other people that are there almost full time for pick and pack and inventory replenishment and everything. So it has grown over time, but my goal is to continue to run a very lean machine and do everything I can under my roof, so that when I really want to scale big, it's just this, again, a well-oiled machine. And, it's just a matter of infusing more capital and having bigger distribution options and stuff like that.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. You're in California, I assume?
Yeah, Southern California, San Diego.
LA. Is a lot of your manufacturing done in the States, or you mentioned multiple manufacturers?
I believe right now I have 10 to 12 different manufacturer relationships, and they are all over the world. I do have 2 in LA right now. I had one in Colombia, but that relationship soured. Bangladesh, Thailand, a few in China, And yeah, I think I'm hitting most of those right now. So it becomes really challenging, especially about back to your point about margins, because everything's always in flux. Like there's no solid price because all the tariffs are different all the time. Shipping's different all the time. So accounting for that and trying to get your margins can be really challenging. But yeah, to manufacture in the States was my number one goal from the beginning, but it was impossible. It really was. When you talk about development costs, it's just so insane how much more expensive it is. Now I have the ability to do that, and I'm trying to do that. Like I wanted to diversify from the beginning, because you've probably noticed in the news, China has a very big hold on the manufacturing world and apparel and textiles, especially.
Yeah. Are you, how are you finding these manufacturers? Is it simply looking at current existing products out there that you have an affinity towards and kind of like seeing where they manufacture, or are there trade shows and stuff like that you're going to? Because it seems like you've got so many different manufacturers in so many different regions that.
Correct. Yeah, I started the brand by going to a trade show, and it was Magic in Vegas. I think they do one in New York yearly too. One of the biggest textile shows, and you can meet manufacturers there, obviously. And that's what I did. That started the brand because it gave me the confidence to pull the trigger. Once I went, but fair warning, most of these manufacturers are looking for minimum order quantities, MOQ, of something like 2,000 or 4,000 per style or per colorway. And that made it so challenging because I was looking to start more towards t-shirts and knitwear. And so I was lucky enough to find one manufacturer who was willing to work with me and do 300 to 600 pieces on the MOQ, and that was what started it all. If I hadn't met him, I don't know if I would have had the confidence to kind of go in the cut and sew realm. I probably wouldn't have been doing blanks, white label, all that. From there, I grew the brand initially, and then I got to the point where, going back and forth with manufacturers, not knowing the correct lingo and right words to say when you're trying to communicate how you want a style created or you want sample revisions, it just became maddening. And it's just a lot in general. Because you're also doing everything else for the brand in the meantime, the marketing, the accounting, all that stuff. So I was like, I need a developer. So I went on Upwork, and then I was looking up fashion developers and designers as well that could co-design with me, because I want them to have a little bit of a design sense so they understand what I'm going for and they can get the vision of the brand. That opened up doors to other manufacturer relationships that they had, right? And that just, I pivoted off that. Now I have a different developer that I worked with over the years, and they've both been amazing, and they've both opened up just all these relationships. Basically, that's where it comes from. Sometimes I will get cold emails from manufacturers, and I'll be like, okay, let me see what you specialize in, and I have acquired some that way. But it pretty much does come down to contacts through your developer.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about wanting to scale it up. Walk me through kind of like, the business is your name. So like, what is the vision for the business? How do you want to build it? Where do you want to see it go?
Yeah. So before, we kind of started the podcast and we were just doing, our pleasantries, introductions and stuff, I just really resonated with what you said. And it's exactly what I've been telling my friends, my family, other people that ask me this question over the past like 3-4 years, now that I'm really in the thick of it, is that all I want back now is time. Like I at 45, at this life stage, my ego is so secondary to building an empire and all this stuff. Like I want the brand to provide the dream lifestyle that I've always wanted, and that's to have more time to be able to be with friends, family, do travel, and live a comfortable lifestyle. And it's challenging, obviously, in Southern California. Just cost of living is crazy on top of that, and to run a business with the amount of taxes and everything, there's so many setbacks, right? So I'm strategizing to I want the legacy of the brand and the brand mission to always stay the same. So I will never fully detach and just golden parachute, see you later. Like my name is attached to this brand, and I really take pride in when I hear customers leave reviews and they're so happy. That's the most rewarding thing I can do, because I really, really want people's approval. I've just, a lot of people do, and acceptance. And I want to make sure that I provide the best product possible. So I would stay, the goal would to be Stay self-funded as long as possible because I can retain the control I need to make sure that this anal part of me is what is like, I feel like what got the brand to the trajectory was so strong because I really am dedicated to that. And I believe if you stay really dedicated to a super solid product, the rest of the equation is just marketing, like you could sell anything. But to get that return customer, and to communicate the quality and all that stuff, it's not that easy. So yeah, the goal is to remain really, really dedicated to the brand in terms of the product design and all that stuff, but then to be able to pull away with my time, maybe in the next couple of years, to where I'm just primarily the face of the brand. I'm on an oversight kind of role creatively. I'm still involved in design and big picture stuff. But yeah, it's really, that's how I strategize constantly now, is like, who can I align with me to bring this team around me to free me up and get my time back? I want quality of life more than anything right now, more than money or anything. So that's my motivator for sure.
Do you, right now, as we record this, do you feel like the business has its grips on you more than you have the grips on the business?
It's kind of in the 50-50 spot now. It was completely consuming and overwhelming me, but I still have pockets. Like this week was really hard for me. Things kind of, how life is, they come in waves, and I'll just get stuff that lands on my desk and I can't avoid it, because if you're at the top of the hierarchy of the company, like there's no way that things aren't going to funnel and channel through you for approval, or you have to put fires out constantly. But I also am trying to be so involved in the brand. Like some brands, you're not usually talking to the designer on back and forth. You're not usually like having that person be the absolute face. Like you see the name of like a designer or whatever, or a brand, and it's kind of faceless oftentimes. So that takes a big toll, because I'm trying to create content at the same time, and I'm trying to communicate with customers and have my hands in everything. So it's, again, a bandwidth thing. So but the reason I do it is because, for one, I started it that way. So I can't just make a dramatic shift, but it also is just like, it's what I want to do for now. It's like where my passion is, and I can't really, it's how I differentiate the brand more than anything else. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like your competitive advantage. So
Correct.
you've got a YouTube channel. I assume you've developed some really good rapport with customers on that platform. Is that the primary driver for awareness and sales to your brand, or are you working on different marketing channels to drive revenue?
It was on year one, because I used the YouTube channel to kind of test it, right? Guys were asking me about style questions. What should I wear? This and that. And I was thinking, guys, I don't have things in my wardrobe that I really am that excited about. Like I'm kind of annoyed with this inability to create a head to toe style video. I don't really have a lot. And that, again, was a motivator. So the YouTube channel, I launched the brand, and the first month was a great response. And so from there, I just got more and more sucked into the brand and less involved in YouTube, because I just couldn't do it. I mean, I was posting videos very regularly, to where, I'm recently started my channel back up, but it had been over a year since I even posted, right? And I have a decent sub count, and in terms of my engagement, I guess you'd say, based on my sub count. And it's a missed opportunity, but it's, again, a bandwidth thing. So since then, the brand was only really reliant on YouTube for the first year. And after that, it was Meta and ads, basically reaching that ideal customer profile. So almost entirely now, I believe, is Meta and Meta ads. And I'm not even working with an agency right now. And so, again, we're trying to do lean machine, and we're getting crazy numbers right now, compared to most brands through the grapevine. So it's been great to know that, like, you can do it. There is a way to like make it happen without an investor. I have had a couple loans along the way. I will not lie. Like you got to do that, because it's an inventory game. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with where things are at, all things considered, in such a volatile market right now.
Well, you mentioned growing through Meta. a lot of people are struggling in Meta right now. I would assume that your content creation. You've talked a lot about creativity has moved from creating organic stuff to creating Facebook ads. Essentially, would you agree with that or?
Yeah, and I started to, like most people, identify that once TikTok came out, it kind of shifted a lot of things where people wanted more videos where it was handheld and it was, like you said, more UGC and organic feeling. And the overproduced, very refined stuff that most brands and companies do just wasn't connecting. And so we've realized that pushing videos of me just in my bedroom talking into the mirror about a style and trying to run an ad with that is actually very effective. And doing multi-style ads, where I feature a bunch of styles versus just one, so that way you're probably going to hit somebody that likes it, right? So our conversion rate is been amazing right now, and we're just noticing that I don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a huge production to really get people engaged. It's just stemming from what you normally do on a social media channel, right?
Are you doing what is your ad buying strategy? Are you doing like cost caps or bid caps or manual bidding, or like how are you
My
maximizing that?
my ads manager, like I don't even go into ads manager anymore. I used to. My growth marketer, Joe, who connected me with you, has been awesome in terms of we look at everything on a weekly basis and looking at all our metrics, all his KPIs and everything. And he could better answer those questions, but I know that we primarily are like looking at our CAC and just our ROAS and a few other like key metrics, obviously. But I that's definitely not my realm, which is exactly why I brought on people, because I
Yeah.
knew it's a profession in itself. But it would be great to follow up with that at some point, because all I know that, with what Joe tells me in these metrics that we have, it's pretty insane, like what we're doing right now.
Well, I mean, Joe's a former guest or a guest on e-commerce conversations as well, who's kind of launching his own side brand, helping with
Hmm.
growth. He was with Koyo as well, and helping with their growth journey. Um, so he's definitely, from my perspective, the two of y'all working together just makes a lot of sense. Like he he's a media buyer who also like lives in this space. So there's going to be, and this is almost like something I would kind of recommend, and what I've found success with is it's not always the case, but if you can make it happen, like working with people who are also passionate about your industry, because there's just so many like intangible things that come through in business, whether it be media buying or customer service or operations, buying the products, sourcing all the materials, all that. Like when somebody cares, and I wouldn't even say care because I think both people care, but it's just like this little bit of insight that is intangible that will come through in their performance.
I totally agree. Of course, there's plenty of positions that have industry crossover, and it's not a huge deal. But energy and interest and passion are so important to me, and just chemistry. Like when you're building your team, it's just so obvious when you get in meetings when there's just not someone that's not gelling, or and that's okay. Like everyone's wired different and everything, so you just kind of have to end up in your lane. But yeah, it's been great working with Joe, and it's like I just try to identify areas where like I don't know anything about this. Like who's someone who does, who's someone I trust that can refer me, and then we get on a call and then it's just obvious the chemistry's there, and Joe has that with the whole team, so I'm grateful for him. Yeah.
Yeah, when I before we hit record, I was telling Weston is basically my goal in life is to do the things that I want to do with the people I want to do it with when I want to do it, and I think work is a gift to humanity. I don't think there is such thing as a I would not advise such thing as a retirement where you just give up work. I mean, I think you can give up making money, but you always have to work. Like I feel like humans without work uh, is essentially hell on earth. But finding that work that you love is super important. And I mean, like apparel, is that going to be the long term love for you? Is that one of your loves?
Well, that was well said, by the way, and I couldn't agree more. I think that producing has been something that I've even, having done years of therapy and just learning more about myself over time, I've come to find that I find a lot of my value and worth by what I produce. And I'd like to change that. It would be nice. But it's like you said, when you work, you kind of get that sweet and sour effect. You really enjoy and embrace your time off when you've been working hard and you have something to show for it. So I don't think that's a bad thing. But ego and having a ton of drive can sometimes get you out of balance in terms of just realizing, oh my gosh, like I've really neglected relationships, and man, I don't want to die alone. Like it's a sad existence if you get to the top and you've sacrificed all those things to get there. So yeah, I think that. What was your initial question though on that? I'm so tired, by the way. Like this is me in real time, where I just have so many things going on that I've been losing my train of thought, and that's been like a red flag for me too. That I'm out of balance as well. So,
well, I did Magic Mind. Have you worked with them in the past?
I haven't. No.
I took they do little shots of like little mushroom things. So I did a
Oh,
shot
right,
like
right.
I did a little shot a half an hour ago because we are recording this. Well, for me, it's the end of the day on Friday, so it's fair, like the last day of the week, to be in that position, especially when you're operating any kind of small business, and not only that, the week that we've been having in regards to the drama of tariffs, and has that taken a toll on your sanity as well, or how are you handling that volatility?
Yeah, I've tried to keep a cool head. I've done that in my life through personal or professional drama and things that have happened that are insane. I'm very much not a reactive person. And that comes from things through therapy in childhood, where I realized that started at a really young age, and it helped me to have a sense of control, to be able to navigate a lot of things that maybe other people would panic or freak out and do something crazy as a reaction. So I've been taking that same approach with this situation, where I'm like, what's in my control? How much can I do in a day? Let's not overreact and reach out to manufacturers and go crazy. However, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm also having a backup plan, right? Like I'm still very much dedicated. Before this ever happened, I talked to my previous developer and I'm like, we can't have too much in China because they are not necessarily an ally. And although we do all this trade with them, and I do feel like at some point this is going to be an issue, and I couldn't have been more right. I wish that I would have been even more aggressive with diversification, but it is what it is. And so right now, I have a couple manufacturers who've reached out, and we have DDP relationship with them and LEP. So it's like they're paying these duties. So they're basically saying like, we're thinking, for these next orders, the current styles you're doing, we have to charge this much more surcharge per style. And it's significant, and I'm like, okay, let's just take a breath, because every other day a counter tariff happens, right? This retaliatory thing that's going on between China and the US. And I personally am just trying to buy my time and just let's wait and see a little bit, and telling them like, look, I really value our relationship, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to just drop a factory relationship because of my own interests. Like I feel for them too. Like we're both kind of stuck in the middle, and this is the dynamic that the market has created over time, and it should have never happened. But this is where we're at. So I am trying to just be chill about it, but I'm also looking at my top sellers and stuff and thinking I might have to start producing some of these in by other means. And so I will have that in the background and pull the trigger on it if I absolutely have to. But I personally believe that we should all just wait and see a little bit, because there's a ton of pressure on China being one of the biggest holdouts so far versus how many other nations have already come to the negotiation table.
Well, your industry is kind of interesting because how it's become lately is like fast fashion seems to come out. And I think like, you have 4 seasons, but now some brands have like 12 seasons. It's like every month they're dropping something new. And you talked about developing classic styles. So is your goal and your vision is like, hey man, we've got like, the quote, you're wearing a knitted polo. So it's like, we got the knitted polo. We'll always have this. Maybe the colors will change over time, but this is basically the same polo you're going to get for the next 30 years. Same kind of cut.
Yeah, that really is part of the goal is to, I don't want to overwhelm guys with too many options. That's kind of something that I hear often with men. They don't like shopping. So I want to bridge that gap again with that, not only that issue, but designer level quality with reasonable price points, make dressing nice, comfortable, to not associate it with discomfort, but comfort instead. So fabric selection is really important. So it's really just taking the staple styles that I said that are kind of, that you always have polos, you always have crew necks, you always have crew neck sweaters, you have cardigans, you have button ups, you have denim, you have swim trunks. There's these things that are always there, right? And generally the silhouettes don't change dramatically, except for certain brands, especially with younger generation. They're going to be taking way more risks with fashion. I'm going to stick with more timeless evergreen styles. And like you said, continue to double down on bestsellers, add more color selection, fabric varietals. And I can't take credit entirely for this because although I set out to have a collection that's not too big, I'm good friends with Jay from ASRV, the owner of ASRV, and we worked together for many years because I modeled with them and very often. And I saw that brand, from the early days to now. It's just incredible what Jay has done with that brand. And he and I got together a few different times, and my big takeaways were those things from Jay, about how important it is to remember your core products. Like, don't get so distracted by the new shiny thing and continually drop, new drop, new drop, new drop. Like, you need to, of course, give something existing customers have to come back, right? But like these new customers, like, they've never seen the bestseller until just now. That's been there for 5 years or something, right?
Yeah.
It's totally new to them. So that was a huge moment for me, and I really respect him, and I thank him for kind of keeping me reined in, because I still to this day have pulled the trigger on too many new styles because I get super excited about them. And I go, well, the brand's doing really well with these same styles all year. Like, why do I have this need? And now my inventory situation is crazy. I'm outgrowing my warehouse prematurely, which causes a lot of stress. And it was unnecessary when you have these styles that are not sitting on the shelf and just flying in comparison.
Yeah, I think like that's always the balance that we face as like bootstrap, self-funded entrepreneurs is like, we chase growth, and sometimes that comes with risk, and that risk is like new products that maybe are slightly outside our wheelhouse, and sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. And then when they don't hit, that risk becomes a burden, and it pushes you to make decisions like, do I scale back or do I move forward? And I think for me personally, like there's always this voice in the back of the head. It's like, grow, grow, grow. Are you facing that pretty constantly, where it's like, I need to have new products, I need to have new SKUs, I need to go bigger, I need a bigger warehouse, and more orders, da 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 da? Or do you think there could be like growth in simplification or focus?
Yeah, it's the latter that we're leaning towards, and the key that now I see what's possible to do under one roof is to, how do we work with what we've got and capitalize on what we've already got? Let's identify what's already been working, and like I said, introduce more colorways instead of new SKUs, or entirely, or I should say styles. So that's been the move, and the collection's relatively small if you consider a 6-year span and being a clothing line. 100% year over year growth, despite not having that much new stuff. So the focus has been on reaching new customers, but also again catering to existing with the doubling down on core styles. I do test. I'm not a seasonality brand. Like I don't say, here's the whole new summer collection, right? There's going to be some new styles for summer that I'm going to test, but I usually come out with one colorway first, low MOQ if possible, like whatever the lowest is, test it. And then it sometimes, there's a dark horse I just don't see coming. And then like we start adding that to be one of our new core styles, right? But you definitely could really do a lot with what you got if it is working, in my opinion. Well, it's in the growth, like I want the growth, but I want it to be, like you said, a simplified growth. It's like we're being measured and it's not going to overwhelm me and make me have to take out a massive loan and take huge leaps to get there. But the goal is to really, with this 100% growth, like we're pushing to be beyond that even. So I have to prepare myself either way for that point. But I think at that point, that's when I kind of need someone to come on as like a partner or an investor to help assist, because it's just going to be too much of a lift for me for my sanity and my health,
Yeah. I think one of the things that's a good reminder, especially if you're a smaller business under 7 figures or even, kind of mid 7 figures, is like you're still, relatively speaking, really small. Like your number one problem in the marketplace is ignorance when you're small. So like most people have no idea who the heck you are. So you don't need more products. You don't need, like new sales channels. You don't need to be on Amazon and Walmart and Etsy and eBay. You just need to figure out how to get your brand and your story in front of a larger audience, and do that until you cannot do that anymore. Like, because you keep your operations simple, you keep your head simple. When your operations are simple, your head count is simple. When your growth is, focused and singular, then you have a lot more opportunity. So I think it's, I like what you're doing in regards to trying to stay as lean as possible, stay focused with key SKUs. We try to do the same thing, and it's a good path. And certainly every business has its challenges and its good days and its bad days. Where can people buy your clothes, support you, follow you?
So that's the thing, I'm not in Nordstrom and I'm not in stores and all this stuff because, like you said, it's simple, margins are better, it works. So everything's direct with my site. So westonjonbouchér.com is the main site.
How do you spell your last name?
It's Boucher. So it looks like Boucher. If you ever saw Waterboy, Bobby Boucher, that movie helped for people that see my name know how to pronounce it. So that's silly of a movie it was. I love that movie though. westonjonbouchér.com. I have started to try to work with a couple partnerships where it's kind of like a drop ship thing, and they have my stuff on their site through like a seamless kind of Shopify integration. But yeah, everything entirely in there. So everything else you see out there is counterfeit, by the way. I've had that happen quite a few times. It's hard to deal with, but yeah, you want to buy direct from me to know it's the real deal.
There you go. Weston, thank you for coming on E-Commerce Conversations. I hope our listeners enjoyed it as much as I did. It was great chatting with you. Cheers. Keep on growing.